Hello, humans and other species. I'm Betsy, and welcome to a new season on the SMP. It might look a bit weird to do the intro while running like a maniac, so let me explain what are we going to do for the next few hours. Or rather, few hours for me. I'm sure editor Betsy will cut down most of the nonsense. This must be the starting town that some players were collaborating on. That's not bad at all. They have some solid stuff going on. Someone has been hard at work. But anyway, new season? That's exciting, isn't it? I have so many things planned, and I really hope I can organize myself properly and achieve all of those ideas. But while I loot this village for some goodies, let me explain the caveat, or at least, the caveat for me. I really dislike the early game. I really do. I think for a mod pack like RAD or RLCraft, the early progression is cool and fun. But for me in this particular server, I just plan to build stuff and make farms. The steps of getting a stone pick, getting an iron pick, now get andesite, now make andesite alloys. That just feels like a checklist to me. I honestly don't enjoy it that much. I'm not sure if I'm the only one with that problem. Most people seem to have fun with the early progression. Before I continue with that thought, we went through hundreds of seeds to find something really specific for this season. I have some plants around living in the swamp, and this time I did put some real effort into finding the perfect place for it. I know that it's somewhere north and a bit to the east, so that's where we are headed towards. So going back to that thought. While I was working on the server, I kept thinking on how I wanted my first episode to be, but I honestly couldn't come up with anything. Sure, I could record all of the early steps and pretend it's fun, but that wouldn't be so honest. Then a good friend of mine said, well, if it feels like a checklist, why not make it a checklist and be done with it? And I kinda like that idea, so this is my intro for the season, me rushing to my starting area to go over the checklist as fast as I possibly can. And speaking of, I'm almost certain this is the town in front of the first witch hut. Let's pay a friendly visit to that lovely witch. This is my swamp now, silly witch. Alrighty, so after greeting the locals, now yes, it's time to speed run this mod and get us started in this world. First we want to get some stone and craft ourselves a pickaxe. Then we search for a menacing looking cave and look for some iron, as well as some coal to smelt it. We wait 10 hours for the iron to smelt, and we make ourselves an iron pick. Now we want to mine some of the copper and also some of the zinc. We get an unreasonable amount of andesite stone, craft yet another iron pick, and get as many of those 4 resources as we can. I personally always mine some of the calcite for bone meal, and redstone will become super important later on. This already stripped wood will be useful later to make casings. Then we smelt some of the zinc, and convert the ingots into nuggets, which allows us to make andesite alloys. We use the alloys on stripped wood to make casings. And we craft ourselves a hand crank. We also need a depot. Then we make an iron block. And with the casings and some shafts, we make ourselves a mechanical press. We place down the depot, add the mechanical press above it, and the hand crank at the side of it. Now we have pressed the iron to make iron sheets, and use those sheets to craft a whisker, which will serve us to make a mixer. We place down a basin, and add the mixer on top of it. Then we need a cogwheel on the side, so we can add another hand crank. That allows us to make andesite alloys at a cheaper price. Next is time to suffer the nether. And it's important to get plenty of quartz. Of course, we find the wrong structure first. But once we find the nether fortress, we craft ourselves a burner. And we rush it into the fortress to capture a blaze inside. Now we can place it under our basin. And combining copper and zinc, it will produce some brass for us. And we want said brass to make some casings. Then we craft some rose quartz, a bunch of sandpaper too. And we apply the sandpaper to make polished rose quartz, which we use with sheets to make electron tubes. The tubes with the casings will make mechanical crafters, but we don't need more than 21. We place them down in the most inconvenient corner. And we power it up with a simple water wheel. Now we will up the grid with the crushing wheel recipe, and wait about 10 hours for it to be done. We make a couple of gearboxes, and connect the crushing wheels to a power source. Now we can crush all of that 𝐋𝐢𝐧𝐤𝐬 we made from mining to convert it into iron. And this is it. That's the Create checklist. We are still going to build a whole lot of stuff with Create, but now we have unlocked every recipe. Some recipes require the use of mechanical crafters. Others need the use of a heated basin. And some need to be crushed by the wheels. You need these things if you want access to everything that Create has to offer. And I guess because I have done this many times, it kind of feels like a checklist to me. But this is where the fun really begins, and now that we have unlocked Create, now we can truly start the season. It's been a few days since the launch of the server, and I have honestly been quite a busy bat during the weekend. You might notice right away that I fixed the audio, which given the noise in here, I'm not sure if it was a good thing to be honest. I basically forgot that because this is a new mod pack, I obviously had to select the right audio channel in Minecraft. But regardless, I have added a couple of things around here. And look, I have done some mining in preparation with today's episode. 𝐋𝐢𝐬𝐧𝐤𝐬 is obviously always nice to have since it will provide us with iron and redstone when washed. I'm also in need of some glass, so I'm converting a bunch of cobble into gravel and later into sand. Everything is coming along nicely. But before I get distracted, let me explain today's goal, and I also have a few side projects that we will be doing over the weeks. I've chosen the seed because there are two witch huts quite close to one another. My plan is to have an AFK spot at the center of it and have a witch farm in each of those huts. And because they are far apart enough, we can honestly build our base around the AFK spot, and it should leave the farms working most of the time. In theory, it should only not work if we are too close or too far from the farms. So that's kind of the most immediate project. I don't plan on building both today, but I was hoping to at least have this one working for now. And I imagine I will set up an AFK spot up in the sky with some scaffolding. As for the side projects, the first and the smallest one is that I have been farming some pumpkin pies. The reason for that has to do with this item. This is a piece of cloth that can be used on a tamed bat. There are a few different ones, and each gives the bat a different trait. To my understanding, if you level the bat enough with a certain trait, it should also give the player some bonus, and the bats receive extra functions. I believe there was one that picks up loot for you and all. This is just a small side project I'm working on. The mod is called Bat Companions, and I thought it would be funny to have some of them with different things going on. We obviously need pumpkin pies to tame them as well to heal them, so that's why I have been farming some. Hopefully I can get a bat at some point during this episode, if there is enough time for that. Lastly, and this is kind of an important project for me. For this season, I have been working on a parallel mod pack. I'm not sure how to explain this properly. Between the server and the main mod pack, I try to provide a decent Minecraft experience that is also trying to adapt to my supporters. When a certain mod gets requested a lot and I feel like it fits the server, I try to add those. What happens is that I have a different way of enjoying Minecraft. To me, I like things that are properly immersive, and I like to grind and work for it. I don't enjoy many of the client mods, and stuff like backpacks, or even the rocket boost for the elytra, feel unbalanced compared with the rest of Minecraft. I will give a good example. There are overlay mods that show the light level of the blocks around you. Even the F3 menu usually gives the light level of the block you are standing. That to me, it's not immersive at all. But Create does add this cool little feature called the Haunted Bell. We can use the bell to figure out in what blocks the mobs can spawn. Sure, it doesn't give the exact light level, but it's useful enough to not need an overlay or something external. The same reason why I'm not using a mini-map, or why I have this silly map that barely has any functions. I'm trying to replace all of the non-immersive things from the game into cooler features. I even figured I could use this funky-looking thing to replace the free chem mod for when I show off a build or something I've done. Alright, so this massive explanation aside, this is a long-term project that I'm working on. There are still several features that I'm not sure how or what to replace them with yet. But I hope over the months I can be polishing this pack further, and I would absolutely love your feedback and your ideas on it. For now, I'm using 𝐋𝐢𝐧𝐤𝐬 and command blocks to disable rockets and backpacks only for myself. I plan on using this 𝐋𝐢𝐧𝐤𝐬 feature to balance and tweak my experience further. But my current biggest problem is the EMI mod. It could be EMI or JEI or REI. They're all the same at the end. I originally started playing without it, and I was only using the crafting book that Minecraft provides. The problem comes when most mods don't provide a book or anything that shows what the mod itself has to offer. So I found myself having to Google some stuff a few times. Create isn't a problem because I know most recipes from the top of my head. But for example, the Bat Companions mod that we added for this season, I have no idea about anything from the mod. If I need to go out of the game to Google something, I'm basically doing the same as checking EMI, but with extra stems. I'm really not sure how to solve this problem. I want it to be more immersive, but removing the mod doesn't improve things at all. If someone has suggestions about it, I would so love to read them. This is a project I'm really passionate about, and I hope by the end of the season I have a really cool experience mod pack that works in parallel of the main one. So a witch farm. We need to get started on that. I have done a few witch farms before, so I hope that I can remember how to do one as we go along. But we need to get rid of all of this junk though. Better have stuff on the side, even if it's not on the spawn range. It's just going to make things messy otherwise. Alright, I have moved the storage to this corner. I mean, not super organized, but it's better than what we had before. Now we can start on the farm, which I guess we should move that portal. It's going to take forever without a diamond pick though. I'm sure it will be fine. It's not in the spawn range anyway. But as you can see, everything is empty and ready to go. We just need to get some building blocks and we should be good. What can we use to build this thing up? Apparently not a whole lot. I guess what it is. And maybe some andesite. I don't want to waste the andesite, but we really don't have a whole lot. I almost forgot. I did prepare a bunch of sand to smelt it into glass. We will be using some tinted glass for the walls. Not sure how much we will be able to see inside, but I hope that we can see some witches falling. To my understanding, we can use the cutting board from Farmer's Delight to convert the amethyst blocks into shards, which sounds both weird and probably not balanced. I mean, it's a food mod after all. It's weird to me that it has recipes for just blocks. But I'm pretty sure that was a thing. Yeah, sure enough, it's what I remember. For stacks of shards out of that stack of blocks, that's really not bad at all. Oh dear, it uses 4 shards per craft. That's not that cheap. Well, we do have 2 stacks. I'm sure that will be enough for some windows. What we should be doing first is to mark the spawn area for the witches. If I'm not mistaken, the roof was the guide to use. Anything inside the perimeter of the roof should be spawning spots for witches, I think. And this should be the highest spawning point possible, 1 block above the roof. So the roof of the farm should be 2 blocks above that layer. Oops, missed that one. But that's a 2-block gap, so here goes our roof. Yeah, see, exactly 2 blocks. Now we want to go down by 2 more blocks for the next platform. There should do it. Awesome, perfect. And at the bottom we do the same. Always keeping a 2-block gap. It's quite easy if you base it off the top one. It's always the block above the roof, and just work down from there. I went ahead and added pillars on each corner of the witch hut, so now I'm adding the roof to it. Thankfully, witches don't spawn if we are nearby, so it doesn't really matter if we block the light right away. And I'm using slabs to prevent spawns during the night. Otherwise, we would have this roof filled with creepers and everything. The next step is to build all of the spawning platforms we marked before. Obviously, we can use any block in here, although I don't remember if it had to be a full block or slabs also work for this part. I also recommend removing the witch hut only when you are fully sure you have marked the dimensions properly. Once it's gone, it's gone. And keep in mind that the corners and walls are outside the spawning area, so there is no need to extend the platform further. Once the platforms are done, we want to extend it by 1, but only on one of the longer sides. Basically, the opposite longer side from where you want the witches to die. And while doing that, make sure to add a line of trapdoors on the floor that open towards the side of the farm. That's where we are going to store the water to move the witches around. I'm trying to make the steps as I remember them, and I'm pretty sure the top of the trapdoors had to be blocked. I mean, I can't really think of a reason why not to block it. We also want to extend another line on the outside, This is where we are going to put the redstone to open the trapdoors. And said redstone will be triggered with tripwire hooks, which I honestly not remember how this part of the farm went. I'm placing them at the bottom in the meantime, see if that works out, or at least sparks some memories. Oh yeah, I'm sure this is how it's meant to be. Because now we can extend a row of blocks at the back, where we can add all of the redstone dust. I'm pretty sure that a redstone torch was involved in this corner. And the other side should have more redstone too. Oh yeah, we onto something here. The redstone torch will power one side of the circuit, and when the string triggers it, it should flip to the other side. Probably. So with the torch? It turns on the circuit, obviously. And this should open the trapdoors once active. Only one way to find out, really. Okay, that does nothing. Which is obvious because the signal shouldn't go through the glass, silly Batsy. That still does nothing. Which makes sense because the signal is already active, so why would it revert anyway? I think I'm missing something super obvious here, but I would have sworn this is kinda how the circuit went. So this is more how it should be. The redstone torch obviously leads towards the trapdoor side. But now it's at the same level. Something isn't right. Wait, hold on now. Isn't all of these string going to get flushed away the second it triggers, though? Oh, dear me, I think my brain just lagged for the last half hour. Obviously, the tripwire lines need to be one block above to avoid the water stream. See? Now it's properly triggering the system. This is probably why you should do at least 10 seconds of research before trying to remember something you did years ago. I think I have fixed all of the platforms now. I want to have a little look-see with the bat flyer. We haven't used it this entire time. I tell you what, this is not as easy as I thought it was gonna be. At least when being too close to the build, it's kind of hard to show. But yeah, the farm is about done. I moved the hooks one block above and added the rest of the walls. That's all it takes to make the farm. The farm obviously won't work if we are nearby, and there is also the issue of other mobs spawning in caves. That's why I'm trying to pick some height. It should simulate being on an AFK platform. Alright, I think that was enough time. Let's see if we've got any spawns from it. My gods, this is so loud. And of course, no witches left. But sure enough, we did get some drops. That's awesome. I think I want to AFK for a longer time, see what we can get in 10 minutes or maybe even an hour. I need to go cook lunch and clean the house anyway. After a short test, I ended up clearing some of the trees. Obviously, the normal mob spawning during the night was ruining the farm. And later on, I simply ended up throwing a few hundred torches through the entire forest. I tested it when alone, and I couldn't see any other mobs spawning other than witches, so that's a job well done, I would say. The spawn rates are decent, not super crazy, but this has always been my experience with witch farms. I hope that a couple AFK nights will get us nicely set. But sure enough, look at all of this stuff. I was AFK for like an hour maybe? I wasn't checking the clock, but it usually takes me an hour between cooking and eating. I did remove many of the sticks though. I have been using them to light up everything I can. But I'm happy with this so far. It's quite early, so there are things like glowstone and sugar that we might not need that much yet. But for a day of work, this is working nicely, and this is going to help get electron tubes and other pricey components. The only bad thing is the noise, which means that we should move our camp as soon as we possibly can. This is honestly unbearable. I'm looking around for a nice area to make my base, but I'm honestly not all that sure about what I'm looking for. The original idea was to make a base between the two huts, which came with a couple of issues. When looking for a seed, I used Journey Map, and I saw the farms were 8 squares away, so I assumed that was 8 chunks. Now turns out it's more like 10, and Damn told me that over 128 blocks and the farm won't work, which means I cannot load both witch huts. Those farms need a player, so not even a chunk loader will do it. So that's why I'm thinking, maybe I just load one of them and ignore the second farm for the time being. I would need to light up caves, but that could be an option. Another idea is simply going to where I planned to build in the first place and ignore the loading of the farms. I mean, I can always AFK at the platform if I need redstone anyway, right? Look at this though, that's a nice amount of pumpkins. I have a ton, but I kinda want as many as possible for an item What on earth? Did I just got one shot by a zombie? I didn't even notice I was any low on health. That's nasty. Oh, as you can see, we do have keep inventory enabled. Happy wanted that feature, and I honestly don't care either way, so I enabled it only on the main world. Obviously, for the adventure world, if you die, well, good luck. Which kinda reminds me, do you all know if it's possible to enable or disable keep inventory for certain people? Kinda wondering if I can leave it enable for everyone but me, or any other player that doesn't want keep inventory anyway. Okay, this is the original spot that is supposedly right between the two farms. I think I'm just gonna set up here and use the AFK platform if I want to use the farm. It's a nice place, but I will have to remove some of these trees if I want to do anything. Alright, it's decided, we settling here. Just finished moving stuff out and setting up the basic things, and sure enough, this camp looks as miserable as the old one, doesn't it? We really don't have a lot. Oh, and I kinda removed some trees from the area. By I mean that I hired some players to do it for me, of course. Speaking of, one of my totally a worker and not slave is looking for my wisdom. Let me go deal with that really quick. Okay, where was I? Right, so trees have been removed. Even though I want to make a forest later on, and the idea is to build a really cool witch town, it's just gonna cause more problems than not, having all of these trees around. Now it's obviously safer, and we have room to make our own custom trees and everything. But that will be a tale for another day. For now we have this miserable little base. Not sure if call it a base or a sad camp or something. I moved the little setup I had at the witch farm. That and this sad press at the corner. There's a lot more to be done here, but I need to figure out a couple things, and I spend more of the week working on the server, fixing some issues. The storage is obviously the same as it was before, though I did try to organize things a bit better. But we will talk more about this in a moment. I kinda want to show you all this silly thing I made. It's both super cool and super bad. The idea is simple. We have an encased fan with certain things to bulk process items. The idea is that the fan blows air in a certain direction. So for example, anything after a soul campfire will get haunted because of it. Even if the campfire is up here, it still affects the item in the depot, since the hitbox of those is between both blocks. More interestingly, it also works with anything that allows the air to go through it, which means that the lava next to it should allow us to smelting in the depot below the soul campfire. Let me show you, because it's not very obvious at first. We should be able to smelt some clay into bricks with this setup. See what I meant? It's creating particles, even with the campfire above it. And there we have our bricks. It's a funny setup, to be honest. The deal is that each component is affecting its next block, so that way we can stack campfires, lava, and so on, one after the other. And the final one is the most brilliant. Obviously, we can waterlog a depot, and that is enough to wash things up. This is the only one that doesn't require an extra space at the right to get affected by it. That, of course, makes it perfect for the first depot, as it will work even at this distance of the fan and with the campfire above it. I feel like this setup is incredibly obvious when you realize the small details with the interactions, but not particularly obvious otherwise. And I love it. This setup is hilarious. I mean, it's also really bad, to be honest. This makes the processing area to be incredibly small, but then the logistics around this are a nightmare. You can't add chutes or funnels from above for obvious reasons. Anything from the side will likely need to be with a belt or something, and if you ever use a hopper, then it will process things one at a time, which sounds incredibly painful. Overall, this makes for the worst logistics possible, but of course the smallest fan setup if you go manual about it. On a different note, I now have this cool looking bat flyer. Damn showed me that there is a resource pack to make the planes more in line with Create. Create Immersive Aircrafts is the name. I just searched for this in Modrinth and found it right away. I'm still deciding which one I like better. The contrast between the andesite and the wood is quite something in this one. But the other was plain bamboo all day long, which made it a bit bland to look at. I think I'm going to keep this. Even with the engine makes more sense. The bamboo engine was a bit weird. Alright, leaving those things aside, I wanted to show a little thing I will be using to tweak my experience without altering the rest of the server, since that will be a recurring part of this season. And I kinda want to talk a bit more about what goes behind the server. I didn't have this ready yet because I wanted to show it, and well, because I don't even have rockets or an elytra, so it doesn't really matter. There is a command in the game to delete certain items from a player's inventory. And I found a rather neat way to specify what player, or multiple players, receive it. In Minecraft Vanilla itself, there is a thing called teams. You can create and join a team, for example the challenge team I made for this example. With the team setup, we want to start by adding a clear command. Here we can specify who do we target, or how we want the command to behave. The cool part is that we can open a bracket, and that allows us to choose exactly which team we want to affect, leaving everyone else untouched. Okay, I was checking really quick to make sure, and for my case, I'm going to use the A1. A basically means all players, regardless of where they are in the world. So I will be using it A and specifically only for Team Challenge. Now we tell the command to remove just the rockets. And we leave it as always active and repeat. Now if I give myself some rockets, it will always remove them almost instantly. I really like this idea of the teams to specify who are we targeting, and I would honestly love it if 𝐋𝐢𝐧𝐤𝐬 could work in a similar way. The problem of the command block is that it's a single item. If I want to ban several things for myself, I'm gonna need a ton of command blocks. I would really love suggestions if anyone knows about all of this and about 𝐋𝐢𝐧𝐤𝐬 itself. I just tested with Water Guy, giving them a single rocket, and sure enough, it didn't got removed from their inventory, even if I'm targeting all players, so the team filter is working as expected. On a similar note, I want ideas on how to balance the sophisticated mods. I'm not going to use the backpacks for obvious reasons. I find them way too convenient and draws many things useless. Instead, I will be using a lot of toolboxes and the usual shulkers for mobile storage. The problem next is what to do with the chests and all of that. There are these super basic barrels that give the same as a normal barrel, plus one slot for upgrades only. Maybe this could be my limit. And maybe instead of any upgrade, I could only use the basic tier or tier 1 at most. I'm not entirely sure about it. Or the other way around. Maybe I can use up to netherite barrel, so it's pricey to set up, but then I can't use any of the upgrades at all. That could be interesting. I really want some suggestions and feedback about this. I want to keep tweaking this mod pack during the season, see if I can achieve a pack that I find really fun. Though do keep that in mind, I do need to find it fun too. This is not a challenge for the sake of it. I'm obviously not going to follow a suggestion that bans my entire inventory or something crazy. So yeah, let me know in the comments what ideas you have to add to the pack and some feedback on the command blocks, 𝐋𝐢𝐧𝐤𝐬, and all of that. For now, I will go figure out what to do for next episode. Maybe we will start the industrial area in the other dimension. We do need to get some farms going.